this side of the camera for the first time for a long time, just to see how you guys were doing. Yeah, a bit unshaven like me, and perhaps a few extra lockdown pounds, but we're doing okay. Welcome. First of all, let me say a huge thank you to all those people who have subscribed. Welcome to the channel. There's a few old videos to catch up. You can see the old layout as well before we got to this point. Thank you for all your comments. I've tried to reply to as many as I can. One of the two things that have been raised in those comments I'll address in this video. So let's get into what's happened since the last time I was with you. If I imagine I'm coming out of the loop platform, which is on this line here, and I come across those two slips, that point the far side, and where this other ruler is, not to fall over anything here, this is the branch. I come along the branch, and from about here we're beginning to see the rise. You can see this, wherever this float ruler is actually on a rise. That's not the right gradient, but it's going to be pretty close. We're coming up. These 2 points here are the engine shed, and this is actually where they're going to be. There's quite a gap between the back of the wall and the engine shed and the branch road. We come round here, still rising, round the back of here, and then up and over Middle Junction. This line here is the branch line, so I'm now coming down the branch. I'm going to go around this arc here that I've drawn over the top of Middle Junction. You can see where that line curves around underneath this white box and joins up with the Yarslow in that far corner. I have a new test train. I decided the LJ52 quite wasn't up to it, so next one out of the box was my Type 2 Class 20 with its single coach. But this has been great just for proving things and proving the layout here at Middle Junction. This has been quite some fun to set up. This is the up line here, and the up line does that. This is the down line, so from here it comes through this crossing, around this single slip, around here, and that's where the train is sitting. This is Trinity Square storage. Normally Trinity Square trains come round the edge of here and then divide. That's the entrance of Trinity Square. That's the exit from Trinity Square, so that's a standard point. This is another slip, so the trains can come round here. But obviously Trinity Square also has access across that diamond and that single slip to the up line, and trains from the down line can come across that crossing, that slip, and into here and into Trinity Square storage. So it's quite a complex bit of point work. 2 crossings and 3 single slips, and you can for some reason one of the single slips is a dead frog, the other's alive, so there are 4 sets of live frogs in there, which is quite exciting, and that gave me quite a head scratcher in terms of doing all the wiring. Now electrically this is Middle Junction. You can see the red line is the up line, the blue is the down, green is Trinity Square, and yellow is Trinity Square storage. And I've paired the points up so that 1 and 1 fire together, 2 and 2, and so on. The only oddment is 5. I could have paired 5 with 1, but you can move 1 without moving 5, so that didn't make a lot of sense. I would have paired one side of 1 with 5. I didn't want to do that. I printed this out because I'm going to laminate this and put it onto the control panel, which is here. So I've got 1, oh, the capacitor discharge still had something in it, 2, 3, 4, 5. This switch here, if we have a quick sneak over the back, I've got some tidying up to do with my wiring here, so you can see this on the back here is a 4-pole 1-throw switch, and essentially that means that if that is up, then the down line has access to the live frog, and the crossing, if I put it down, then all the polarities change, and the live frog crossing allows a train to cross from Trinity Square onto the up line. That's the easiest way of doing it. And then in order to make that happen, this is the live frog crossing here. For some reason, when I laid it, I realised that this is a dead one. I thought they were all live, but it's a dead frog. This is a live frog. These brakes here are all double brakes. 2 brakes here, 2 brakes here. So this unit is isolated in its entirety from the rest of the layout, and power to it, whether we're going this way or this way, is dependent on this one switch on here. I've used a chassis input for the 16-volt transformer, and I've soldered it directly to the tags, and that drives one of these CDUs. These are 2200 microfarad twice CDUs, and they are more than capable of punching these points across, at least 2 at a time. That's the power for the points for Middle Junction, and also going to be the power for the branch points. That one there is for relay power on the story sidings. This one is for the LEDs. This one is the CDUs for the story sidings, and these two are for the controller. And again, you can see what I've done is I've soldered the chassis, these chassis mount inputs, directly to tag, and I've had starting to clear up and tidy up some of this wiring. This obviously needs sorting out, it's only temporary. It's very difficult to make 194 connections look tidy, and in fact some of these aren't done yet. This is only the points and the LEDs here, but you can see I've tried desperately hard to keep these as neat as I can. And the reason that that's important, that's been tidied up a bit, still a little untidy. I've got this to do, but this has all been sorted out and tidied. I've rerouted a lot of the cables, shortened a lot of them. It means that this control panel, stand this up, now works. So this is the control panel for the story sidings. It clearly needs fixing down. And this panel now works, so I've just temporarily fixed it to the board here, but this is where it's going to live. And you can see that I've got, if I come down here so you can see these LEDs, this is the up line and this is the down. The up line has 8 tracks, as does the down. The tracks are divided into 2 isolator sections. Track 3 up has got 3 trains, track 4 down has got 3 trains. 4, 5 and so on. And essentially what happens now is that I've got LEDs at the end here which show that the main line is, the points are set for the main line. So if I throw the points, let's say track 3, I get 2 green lights at track 3, main line lights have gone out, and that shows me that both points have thrown and track 3 is working. Reset it, and the main line lines come back on. Now, a number of people have asked me to talk about these little relays and what these actually do, and I've explained it in words, but I thought the easiest thing to do would be to explain it with a little setup. So here we go, more messy wiring, but you'll get the flavour of it here. This battery here, through these 2 yellow leads, is connected to either end of the 2 pins of one end of the relay, and I've got here 3 pins on this side and 3 pins on that side. And I've got a totally separate battery with a circuit to some LEDs there, and I've got another battery over here, totally separate circuit through these pins to the red LEDs over there. And you can see that I've got 1 LED there and 1 LED there. Let me separate those so you can see them a bit better. Now if I apply power to this lead here, you'll hear the relay click. Get that? And what that's doing is changing the LEDs. And they are totally independent from each other. This could be two buzzers, this could be lights. In my case, this is frog polarity and this is lights on the control panel. This switch, crude switch here, is a point motor switch. So be that a seat motor going backwards and forwards, or one of the pico motors, switches sitting on top of the motors. That's fed by, in my case, a 12 volt, not these little 9 volts, but a 12 volt supply. And that's how a relay changes two different things at once. Right, well here is the corner baseboard for Yarslow, where the loco shed is going to go without a top on it. Which gives me an opportunity just to show my method of construction. This is all 3x1 plain timber. This is built off piece, as it were, manoeuvred into place. It sits on this batten here, which is also 3x1. It carries the mains power for the ring main going around the shed. So that gives me my level, and then there's cross pieces screwed in. Now this is the baseboard for Middle Junction, and what I've been doing this morning is marking out the line of the main line. That's a 42-inch curve. It transitions into a 60-inch curve when it gets onto this baseboard, and there is the branch line, the run of the branch line, and I've mocked up there. That's roughly what the branch bridge is going to look like going across there. So I've got height and gradient. It's a little steeper than I originally thought, but it's not a problem. So what's going to happen is that this board is going to be cut so that the back of the branch at the back here can be raised up, and the whole baseboard will be raised up, and it'll be about 33mm high by the time it gets to that corner. And here, away from the layout, is that board. There's the corner. I've cut a curve, as you can see. This is the radius of the branch line. So the branch line is going to follow this line here. It's going to sit reasonably close to the front of this, pass up here. And when it gets to here, there's going to be a turnout, and you can see I've marked where the pin's going to go. This is the line of the branch here. Now I may need to do a second cut coming around here, the other side of the branch on the embankment, to get to here. This is where the gradient starts again. Now this line here, this is where the catch point will sit, and this is going to be the hole through which the point motor will come for the curve point, which sits here. One line going off into the engine shed and the other one coming round into the coaling road. And there's my second cut. You can see I've now created a strip where the branch line will run, and that's carefully cut down to there where the point diverges the branch from the loco area. And then essentially what will happen is that this will continue to rise as the gradient, and the bit behind it will stay level where the engine shed is. So if I look at this from low down, you can see that here's the train coming along the branch. The engine shed will be in that corner, and then what will happen is that this will continue to rise on the gradient, and the train will rise up, and nestling in behind it will be the engine shed. So if I come over here, you can see it's going to sit behind the embankment. I've exaggerated it somewhat there, but you can see the the effect that I'm going for. Right, so here are those 3 points in situ. You can see this one has been used plenty of times before and it's a little bit battered, but that's fine because it's on the branch. And actually it might be a few weeds and things. Here's the catch point, and here's a brand new curve left. It's going to go in there and give me a lovely flow through into the loco yard. It'll be easy to put a straight left in there and have very parallel lines, but it's actually nice just to bring things away and make angles. The branch itself is parallel to the back wall, so to have that just moving away is going to look nice. That's the class 20 disappearing on the downline, which I have now laid. You saw earlier that I had laid this point here. This is the down main here. This is the exit from the goods loop with that siding. The coal siding ends about here somewhere. I've had to realign the downline by about 3 mil. I will realign the upline the same. Number of reasons, one of which was just the way this curve came out. This is a 60-inch radius curve, this downline, and it transitions at the track joint, which is there, into 42-inch. It will go around and connect with Middle Junction. That spur you can see there, but it's getting a bit late, so I'm not going to do that. If I come down here and look along the downline, you'll see the effect of that wonderful curve through the curve point and off into that 60-inch radius curve. That's going to look absolutely lovely. Now, it also won't escape your attention that the branch line has been laid. It's been laid to here. This is free floating at the minute, but you can see there's the branch. So we come along the branch. Here's the point where we looked at earlier. There's the branch loco shed point, the catch point, and the engine shed itself. That's another curve point, and you can see that alignment running through there. That's another lovely alignment. So the engine shed goes there and the coal road goes there. The branch itself continues around here. This is a 48-inch radius curve. And if I come down here and look across the board, you can see the effect of the gradient as it runs from the junction up the back, round, and goes all the way around the end, at the moment ending where that white line is on the wall. And it's risen 6 centimetres to do that at 1 in 44. And what I like most is the fact that this bit here is actually going to sit in front of the engine shed. The engine shed sits at 33 millimetres above the original baseboard height, but the line continues to rise from here and goes up. This point is actually flat. Very important to get your points flat. And the engine shed is flat, so if I leave a coal wagon next to the coal siding, it isn't going to run away, which is quite important. You can see the branch rising up there, and there'll be an embankment, something on the front here. That's going to look really lovely. It's 6 centimetres by the time we get to this point here, and it needs to be 72 mil, so another 12 millimetres to go up and over Middle Junction when it gets to that point there. Now, the reason I laid the branch, and I've spent a long time getting this curve right, is to get a position for these two slips. These are the slips that represent the physical junction of the branch. And again, I've got that 3 millimetre shift on both up and down line that you can see there. I've redrawn my lines. But it's important to get these two slips in place, because that then defines where this point is going to go. This is the back siding past the slip, past the catch point, and then this curves around. And one of the things that's very important to do is to get your alignments straight. I talked earlier about using a mirror. Get those alignments nice and straight, and also with the mirror to get the transitions into your curves smooth as well. Get your track dead straight, as straight as you can get. It took me a long time. It took me about 20 minutes to lay that one piece. It's not a rush. Take your time and you will get smooth track work. Again, you can see from long radius point out onto the main line, curve point, a lovely flow of track, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for nice flows. This is an ad hoc curve, just moving that around just to get that to feel right. But whatever you do, just take your time with your curves and make sure that you get things right. I've already mentioned these and I'll mention them again. This is a set of track setter gauges, 48, 24, 30, 21. There's a 60 in here. The yellow one is 60, white one is 42. Absolutely invaluable for laying decent curved track. You can't lay curved track really by eye, and I'll show you how valuable this is, and that is that the way that this has worked out, from the curve point on the down line, there's a piece of track that's probably only 6 inches long before 2 full lengths connect us with Middle Junction. Now, normally you would expect curves to present problems with short bits of track, but if I come down here and just show from the curve point through that short bit around to the rest of it, using the track setter, you can really get that flow and that really sinewy look of the real railway. Well, here's the result of a few days' effort. This is the physical junction of the main line, 2 main lines here, and the branch line, and a couple of points that make up part of the yard. I've got one more point to lay, which has got to go there. This fits in here. It fits across the board joint, you can see, but I have made the operating hole for the seep point motor. I've got to put that motor in, and you'll notice that I have done this work while the board is not attached. So this is a freestanding board, and you can see underneath all the various wires for the point motors. Obviously you can use tag strip, as you can see. So there's the seeps fitted. Lots of notes, of course, that always helps. And then there's some power feeds here. There is the red and white is the that's the branch loco is red and white, and I think I'll probably use branch, same colour. There's a red and white there for the up line, and there's a blue and white there for the down line, and there's a purple and white here for Yarslow Yard. So I've got a few wires to connect, you can see still on there, for the point control. That's the orange ones. And you'll appreciate with this just how easier it is to do all that wiring whilst the baseboard is not fixed onto the frame. Here's the other board with the branch and the down line and the goods loop. It'll all be connected up. Now, despite my best efforts, and it just goes to show that nothing is foolproof, despite my best efforts, you can see, if I look along there, that one of the point motors just sits inside the line of that cross member. This one here lines up with this, so I can't lower the board down. So what I'm going to have to do is to notch that cross member out. Now, that's not a major problem, but what that has why that's come about is that the alignments of all the various tracks under here I've done on any rail, which is great. I love any rail to death, I use it for everything, but unfortunately over 27 feet it does have a kind of drift in terms of the accuracy, and whilst this crossbeam was designed to fit in between. With that blue wire you can see the motor, there's that motor. This crossbeam was designed to fit here between all of the seeps, and because the alignments are slightly out, it's about 2¼ inches out across the whole 28 feet of the station. That motor's in the way, but that's not a big deal. I shall get that done, and then this morning this board will be fixed down once all that wiring is complete. Those tracks, the up, down and branch, will be connected, and then from the physical junction all the way around past the branch loco, both lines coming around here through Middle Junction, all over there, right through, right down the end of the sidings, right to that far corner. Those lines will be complete. And there it is. You can see I've joined up the up and down main lines, the branch is connected. The siding at the back here, this is the one that will run up to the signal box and stop. I've also added the coal siding, which is the one right on this left hand side and stops broadly where that is. But that is essentially the approach tracks at the down end. And to show that I've not been sitting around idle, I've also done these tracks as well. So you can see here are the two platforms, brake van siding. These are in fact the two loops for the platforms that go behind is the main platform. This is the platform 3, this is the platform loop. These two are the exchange sidings that will sit in the foreground here and exchange traffic for the branch. This is the goods yard for Yarslow. Goods shed actually sits there, and the other two sidings sit there. So if you were coming into Yarslow on an up train leaving Middle Junction, this is what you would get round here. The station opening out in front of you. There's the line coming down, the branch crossing over, and the goods yard connection. Now for some reason you can see in the middle ground there's a piece of track missing, joining up that part of the goods yard that's on the board where we are with the far side. I have cut that piece of track, but do you know what, I'm jiggity if I can find it, so I'm going to have to cut it again. You can see the platform loops in the far corner. The main platform's there, running out on a 216-inch radius through the platforms. Goods yard on the right, coal siding down here in front of us. So Yarslow is progressing really nicely. I've also done some more tidying up here. These red and blue wires are extremely untidy, so a lot of rerouting and shortening and cutting has made those better. And you can see with these I've started now to connect in the push buttons here they are, that make the tracks work, and I have tested with my class 20 that the train will come down here through the slow down zone and stop, push the button, and it then sets off through the storage siding. So I'm really pleased with that. That works out really well. So there we are. That's as far as we've got as we come up to the late August bank holiday here in the UK. I've got the wiring of the storage sidings progressing, track laying on Yarslow progressing, and wiring as well. That's how we're doing. So that's where I'm going to leave you. But before I run off, a number of people raised a number of questions and in the comments. So let me throw some answers at you. First of all, a sort of subterranean answer. Why is my wiring so messy? Well, I tend to get wiring in and make sure it works, and when I know it works I then tend to bunch it together and cable tie it like this, and cable tie things like this together so that it then all looks nice. But whilst it's a work in progress, I confess it is rather scruffy. Somebody asked me about track centres in the storage sidings. Well, here's a bit of an issue, you see, because if you use one of these track gauges, they're not very good, they don't work. This side is for the set track, which is miles out, and this side is supposed to be for streamline, and that's also miles out. So what I've done is to make my own. This was my template that I made, that you can see lines up for each of the lines, and the track centres themselves were measured on this. They're 1.5 inch track centres in the storage sidings. Now that feels rather close. You certainly wouldn't want to have that on a curved track, but on a straight track like this, the 1.5 inch centres on small radius points is fine. Out on the main line you have a similar problem, because here is a pair of points back to back and the track setter gauge doesn't fit. So again, I've made my own template. Now, as you can tell by the trial and error, the mainline track centres are at 2 1/16 inch distance, and again you lay that out one rail to the next, and I check that when I'm coming up to, for argument's sake, when I came up to laying out this curve, this inside curve here is on a 60 inch radius, which is laid with a track setter, and then I use the outer line of that pair just to check this through, and I check this every 2 or 3 inches. You'll see if you look very carefully, there are track pins every 3 or 4 inches around this outer curve, and I have literally checked that curve probably 3 dozen times. Finally, when do I hope to get anything running all the way around? Well, my original plan was to get something running around by Christmas. I think I'm going to be earlier than that. I would like to get all the track laying on the main circuit and through the storage sidings, with all the storage sidings wiring done by Christmas. I would certainly hope to have the peninsula started by then, so fingers crossed. So hit the subscribe button, stay with me, look after yourselves, be good, and I will have another catch up fairly soon. In the meantime, I'll see you soon.